Hello everyone, this is ponderonweather coming at you with another update. In this update, we talking about storms, flooding, and much colder temperatures, and yes, with a snowstorm. So before I do get started, if you do like weather-related content, please subscribe to my channel as I will upload daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. And I do ask you to share this video with your friends and family on social media. All right, so let's get started. First of all, let's take a look at the last 2 weeks. This is Monday morning, March the 29th. And we've seen, this is over the last 2 week rainfall, we've seen well above average precipitation for much of Louisiana and Mississippi and Alabama, and especially over Tennessee, getting into portions of Kentucky here and as well as North Carolina, and a good chunk of the central U.S. as well, into Missouri, into Nebraska, as well as Illinois, where it's been fairly dry out here in the Pacific Northwest. And let's take a look at the SOI, because if my regular followers saw this coming, we talked about this well in advance. This was back, the end of February. We saw a noticeable dip in the Southern Oscillation Index, and it continued free fall. And this is a lagging indicator. So what this allowed is that southern jet to become really active, and that's what brought all the precipitation for the southeast. And at the same time, we saw our weak La Nina bump up to a little bit more of an Enzo neutral, as we saw some warmer temperatures hit the equatorial Pacific. But we've seen over the last several days, finally the free fall has subsided, and we're starting to kind of moderate a little bit and even kind of uptick a little bit as well. But this is a lagging indicator, so that's still indicating we could see a stormier pattern again this week, with some more very heavy rainfall in a lot of the same areas. But there is light at the end of the tunnel that this could subside by the second week of April. So let me kind of walk you through. Here's the latest vorticity index this week. This goes into tomorrow on Tuesday. What's going to happen is this southern jet is going to remain very active. We're going to see another system come across from west to east, and back behind the system, it's going to be some very cold air, some definitely chilly air, and well below average temperatures entering the western part of the U.S. and shifting off into the east as we go throughout the week. And this is what it looks like by Tuesday. And by Thursday, that same system will be over the southeast and much of the northeast, bringing down some very cold air as this active jet continues to feed in this system. And that will set the stage for our potential snowstorm. Yeah, believe it or not, for the northeast. This is no April Fool's joke. We got a snowstorm, bona fide snowstorm, with some very cold air coming down for the Ohio Valley into the northeast and to the southeast as well, with some freezing temperatures as well. So let's kind of take a look at the overall setup. Here's the actual warnings and watches as of this morning. Like I mentioned, back behind that system, we've got some very windy conditions. So even right now, we've got high wind watches taking place in Idaho and to Montana, going into Wyoming, and red flag warnings for the central U.S., where it's been fairly dry in those regions. And we still have those high winds taking place from that first system into the extreme portions of the Northeast here, into Vermont and New Hampshire, and especially as we get into Maine and to Connecticut, as well as Massachusetts this morning. But let me kind of take a look at the overall surface map. This is that one system that's moving through. I mean, you're seeing some sporadic snows in the very, very, very high elevations of into Vermont and New Hampshire, getting into Maine here. But back behind that system, this is the system that we're looking at in the Pacific Northwest, that's going to dump some snows into the mountain regions of portions of Idaho, especially as we get into Montana. But there's some definitely colder air back behind it. As we get into the day on Tuesday, that colder air, you can see the blue lines here as it penetrates a little bit further south. We've got a lot of warm air ahead of it. and we're still going to be dealing with those rain and some storms. I definitely don't look as active as far as this severe front as it was last week, but we are going to be experiencing at least some severe weather in a lot of the same areas that we experienced last week. Because by Tuesday, we see another system moving through, and that'll set up probably along the lines of east Texas, getting into Louisiana, getting into Arkansas, as well as Mississippi again, with some more rain. And the Storm Prediction Center has already highlighted a marginal risk for some stronger storms into East Texas, getting into Arkansas and portions of northern Mississippi here as it goes into, unfortunately, Tennessee again with some more heavier rains. And back behind it, here's your temperatures. I mean, these are your temperature anomalies as that colder push will continue to press south throughout the week. This is Tuesday, the 30th, with those 10 to 15, almost 20 degrees below average temperatures for much of the Pacific Northwest into the central U.S., and then well above, out ahead of it with a good, 15, 20, if not almost 25 degrees above average temperatures. So this is definitely a clash in temperatures this week as that very strong cold front enters the picture. So as we go into the day on Wednesday, that same system will continue to traverse off to the east. That'll set the stage for, again, more heavy rain for portions of the southeast, getting into the Carolinas, getting into Pennsylvania, upstate New York, where that colder push back behind it will just sink just a little bit further south by then. And then out ahead of it, with some more storms out ahead of it, anywhere from Houston to New Orleans, getting into the southern regions now of Mississippi and Alabama, getting into Georgia and parts of the Carolina. Again, just a marginal risk of severe weather. So, but anything that falls, I mean, you've had a lot of precipitation over the last 2 weeks. So flooding is going to be a concern in these areas as well as some stronger storms as you enter the picture on a Wednesday. So back behind it, there's that cold front. We'll continue to press further south. Now we're looking at, 10 to 15 degrees below average temperatures in much of Texas, Oklahoma, into Kansas here, into Iowa, into the Missouri, especially as you get into Arkansas here, as that colder push continues to press south, and out ahead of it, where that rain is, where the storm is, before that cold front enters, that's where you're going to have that chance for some stronger storms and some well above average temperatures out ahead of that strong cold front. And you can see back behind it into the Pacific Northwest, it's a quick shot. So you basically go from colder temperatures to milder temperatures as we traverse throughout the week going into Wednesday. So as we go into Thursday, this is where things start to get a little interesting as that colder push continues to press south. The main push is going to be anywhere from the central U.S. to the eastern U.S. It's going to be less moderate, not as strong into the Pacific Northwest here as that colder push continues to press south. And with that lift out from the south here, that's where we could see starting to see some overrunning conditions, and some of this rain could transfer it over into snow as we get into the overnight on Wednesday, going into Thursday morning. Look at that. Portions of Ohio here. Yes, we're talking some more snow in Ohio, believe it or not. Getting into Pittsburgh, into Pennsylvania here, getting into upstate New York as this low continues to remain off the coast. So this is mainly going to be an interior event, not a coastal event. So rain along the coast or along the I-95 corridor, but then a lot of the snow will be in the interior regions as we get into the day and to the morning hours on Thursday. That's when it could start to really kind of accelerate and start transferring to more of a kind of a heavy snow. Getting in much of Pennsylvania by then, much of New York as this continues to press northeast. And look at the temperature anomalies now. So now the 15 to 20 degrees where you are well above average, at 20, 25 degrees above average now, it's going to be the complete opposite of 20 to 25 degrees below average. So that's a 50-degree swing. So we're talking, this is a very strong cold front for April 1st. I know, it just happens to align that day. This is no April Fool's joke. It's coming, guys. It's going to come in a big way. And you can see how the air behind it, it definitely moderates from colder to milder, and if not warmer, for much of the Pacific Northwest into the Dakotas. But out ahead of it, look at the southeast. This goes all the way down into the southeast, into the Carolinas, even into Florida is not going to miss out on this one, guys. as that colder push continues to press to the east. And as it does, it drags down that colder air. As we even get into the day on Thursday, a lot of these areas, believe it or not, are even going to struggle to get above freezing with the snow falling. So yeah, this is a bona fide cold front coming in for the east as this snow continues to press onward into New York, getting into the higher elevations of Vermont and New Hampshire, and getting especially as you go into southeastern Canada here. And we'll definitely go over some of the snowfall totals. They're pretty impressive, but look at the highs. These are like 6 o'clock. 0Z is 6 o'clock on Thursday in the afternoon. Yeah, I mean, some of these places are going to struggle to get above freezing, where that snow is going to fall in much of West Virginia, much of Pennsylvania, getting into New York, and even Ohio. Again, with those 25-degree below average temperature anomalies, you're going to struggle even to get above freezing, believe it or not. And some of the places in Ohio on Thursday here, as that colder push continues to press south, even down 40s here. These are afternoon high temperatures all the way down for the deep south in Alabama to Georgia here. So this is definitely some colder air as it continues to press south. As you wake up Friday morning, that snow will continue to press onward and upward into southeastern Canada. It'll be over by then, but all that snow will be impacting and pulling down that colder air. And that's when I think we really sort of bottom out in much of the east here. You definitely see we definitely modify here out east. Even into Texas, we got 44, even into some 30s the day before. But that colder push will continue to press further south, and we could even have a freeze as far south as Atlanta, Georgia. So yeah, this is some definitely chilly air with some widespread 20s for much of the east here, as that colder push will continue to press south. And the Canadian model is even colder than that. And they even have some teens showing up. So I don't know if we'll quite get this cold, but I'm just going to show you this is a very strong cold front for the end of April. So this is counting on some snow being on the ground, or at least so it'll allow that colder temperatures and dynamic cooling to take place. And yeah, some of these places even could be hitting some teens in some of the places. So it's going to definitely be a shock to the system. Here's your rain amounts just between now and the 2nd. I mean, just for your work week through Friday. So that's going to set the stage with that southern oscillation index still negative, and it's a lagging indicator. It's still going to bring the elevated rain, into a lot of the same areas, into Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, into Georgia here. And unfortunately, Tennessee, where they just don't need any more rain, you're going to be hit again with some more heavy rain, a good 2 to 4 inches coming between now and Friday, as this goes into portions of Kentucky, getting into West Virginia. And a lot of this is going to transfer. This will be rain along the coast. But again, like I mentioned, a lot of this in the interior regions, upstate New York, will be snow. And here's your snow for the next just 5 days. And that's picking up on this Thursday going into Friday morning event. The snow line drops all the way down here in West Virginia. I don't expect anything in Wisconsin or even Michigan, as even portions of Indiana and Illinois as well. I'm not expecting anything. This will be a quick shot, mainly over West Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, getting into New York, and extreme portions of Vermont and New Hampshire. So let's zoom into some of these areas and some of the snowfall totals you could actually see on Thursday going into Friday morning. I mean, look at that. New York, about an inch of snow. You still got some more snow this year. Canton, 3 inches. Getting into Cleveland, 2 inches. So a good swath of 1 to 3 inches is not out of the question for portions of the Ohio. Even get into Pittsburgh, we're talking another 3 inches of snow for you guys is potentially on the table as we go through the day on a Thursday. And as you go up the coast here, those amounts just get even higher. Like I mentioned, this is mainly going to be an interior event along the coast into Philly. Along these areas along the coast here, not going to see any snow out of this deal. But as you get further inland into State College, 2 inches. Williamsport, 3 inches. As you get further into Binghamton, 5 inches. And then even some of the higher amounts in Jamestown, 7 inches. And it just gets even higher as you continue to press further north. And especially as we get into getting into New York here. I mean, look at Rochester, 11 inches, almost a foot of snow snow coming for April. Yes, I mean 5 inches in Buffalo. You know, Watertown, 11 inches. You could be picking up isolated amounts over a foot in some of these places in the higher regions. So Burlington, Vermont, another 2 inches. So as this continues to press up the coast, you know, Quebec, maybe less than an inch, but as you go into the further inland into Montreal, maybe 6 to 7 inches. And again, further north, it'd be almost a foot. So this is pretty good snowfall coming for you guys for the 1st and 2nd of April. And like I mentioned, there is light at the end of the tunnel with that drop in the SOI index leveling off and actually lifting further north. There is light at the end of the tunnel. By the time we get into the 2nd week of April, we dry out. So this well above average precipitation for much of the southeast will just flip, and we go into a drier time for basically April the 5th through April the 12th here by the time we get into the 2nd week of April. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. So a drying out period is definitely on the table back behind all that snow and the rain that we're going to get this week. The 2nd week looks a lot drier for much of the southeast and the northeast. So that you do have to look forward to. So I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Definitely leave your comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel to catch the latest update where I protect you before and after the storm.